everyone. My name is Sonia Shaw, and I am the regional recruiter for the University of West Alabama, located in Mobile, Alabama. And today we have Garrett Pearson joining us.
Hey everyone, as Sonia said, my name is Garrett Pearson. I'm an undergraduate admissions counselor based out of Livingston. I recruit East Alabama and Southwest to Gulf Coast, Mississippi.
Thank you, Garrett. So let's go ahead and get started with our first webinar. It's the SAT and what is it? So we're going to learn a little bit about the SAT and what it has to offer. All right, so the SAT, what is it? What you'll learn in this webinar is how and when to register for the SAT, the test structure of the test, and why the SAT is important. So what is the SAT? If you joined us for our ACT webinars last month, you learned that the ACT is an entrance exam used by most colleges and universities to make admissions decisions. So just like that, the SAT is identical to the ACT. It's just the test is structured differently than the ACT. The SAT is a multiple choice pencil and paper test created and administered by the College Board. The purpose of the SAT is to measure a high school student's readiness for college and provide colleges with one common data point that can be used to compare all applicants. So the SAT is 4 different sections. The first section is going to be reading and writing and language, math with no calculator, and math with a calculator. The essay portion is optional. When is the SAT? So the SAT is administered at thousands of testing centers across the country, often at high schools or colleges. However, not every test center is open for every test date, and they do not offer the same number of seats. Students often feel most comfortable taking the SAT in a familiar location like their own high school. So the SAT test registration and score release dates are below. As you can see that there is the SAT was administered on November 6th. So if you took that SAT test, your scores will actually be released tomorrow. If you missed that deadline, however, there is another SAT coming up on December 4th. Hopefully you registered for that by November 4th, and then there will be another one on March 12th. You can register for that SAT test on February 11th of 2022, and then there will be one in May and in June, and the registration dates follow as April 8th and May 5th. So if you haven't taken the SAT and you'd like to, you still have 3 more opportunities to take that test in 2022. So how can you register for the exam? So the first step that you're going to do is visit the official website for students at collegeboard.org to sign up for an account. Once you sign up for an account, you can pick your test date and try to get your SAT registration finished as soon as possible. Late registration can result in additional fees, and there is also a cutoff on that registration date. Step 3 will be to decide between the SAT and the SAT with essay, which is optional. Some colleges require that SAT essay, so find out ahead of time. You will also need to find out if you need to take the SAT subject test, which also is required by selected colleges. The University of West Alabama does not require the essay or the SAT subject test. Step 4 is going to be to remember that you will be responsible for paying a registration fee. The registration fee is $46 for the SAT and $60 for the SAT with essay. Fee waivers are available for those in low-income households. Step 5 will be to print your admissions ticket for test day. So why is the SAT important? So just like the ACT, the SAT is used as a standardized test that colleges use in 3 different ways. The first way that the colleges use it is for admission, scholarship, and placement, class placement. You probably are hearing a lot of colleges being test optional. The University of West Alabama is also currently test optional for admission and scholarship. However, we do encourage all of you to submit your test scores, whether that's ACT or the SAT. So for admissions, the first step is it helps colleges determine if you are admissible. Though the SAT is only one of many factors, it is one of the most important. For example, UWA begins unconditional admission at 920 to a 980 on the SAT. We also begin conditional admission at 990 or higher. Scholarships. So like I said earlier about being test optional, UWA is also currently test optional when it comes to scholarships. Many colleges use the SAT to determine how much scholarship money to award you. The following charts are example of types of SAT scholarships UWA might award students. Keep in mind that scholarships vary from college to college. So let's look at the first award is going to be the Tiger Achievement Award. So what we're looking for to award you that award is at least a 21 or a 22 on your ACT, a 1060 or an 1120 on your SAT, or if you haven't had the opportunity to take the ACT or the SAT, we are looking for a 3.0 to 3.24. The Counselor's Award is going to be awarded to students that have at least a 23 or 24 on their ACT, 1130 to 1190 on their SAT, or a 3.25 to 3.74 GPA. That award will be $3,000 per year. The Director's Award is anywhere from a 25 to a 26, or a 1200 to 1250 SAT, or a 3.75 GPA or higher. That award will be $4,000 per year. As you can see, the breakdown below will go to the Dean's Award, which is a 1260 or a 1320, which is $5,000 a year. The President's Award is 1330 to a 1380 on the SAT for $7,000 a year. And then the Trustees Excellence Award is 1390 to 1440 or on your SAT for $10,000 a year. And then the Trustee Superior Scholarship, which is our highest scholarship, is going to be anywhere from a 1450 to a 1600 on your SAT for $12,000 a year. So for class placement, the third way that colleges use the SAT is to determine in which classes to place you. College algebra is the first college level credit bearing math class that students may take. If you score a 300 on the SAT math section, it is likely that you will have to take 1 or 2 math classes before taking college algebra. Developmental classes do not count toward the number of college credits you need in order to graduate. So what is the format of the SAT? The SAT is divided into 4 different sections and will take roughly 3 hours and 15 minutes. Each section is formatted the same way every time the SAT is offered. The SAT is also always ordered the same way. First comes reading, writing, and language, math with no calculator and math with calculator, followed by an optional 50-minute writing section. So you can see the breakdown on the chart below. The reading section will take 65 minutes. Writing and language will take 35 minutes. Math with no calculator will take 25 minutes. Math with calculator will take 55 minutes. And your essay question, which is optional, should take you about 50 minutes to complete. The number of questions are also listed on that chart as well. So how is the SAT scored? The questions you answer correctly in each section will be counted. No points are deducted for incorrect answers. Your raw score will be converted into a scale score between 200 to 800. The following outlines how SAT converts scores. Each test will vary slightly regarding the number of questions answered correctly and the scaled score that you will receive. So your score structure is below. Total score is anywhere from a 400 to 1600. Evidence-based reading and writing section is 200 to 800. Your math section is 200 to 800. And the SAT essay is 3 scores ranging from 2 all the way to 8. So what is a good SAT score? I know a lot of you are curious on what would be considered a good SAT score. So in general, a combined SAT score of roughly 1400 will make you competitive at nearly any college or university in the country. A good score depends on which school you are considering. The Princeton Review offers a college search tool, which includes average SAT scores for enrolled students. So to prepare for the SAT, you want to take advantage of online resources to prepare for the SAT. You're doing that now by listening in on our first webinar for SAT prep. Be sure to visit collegeboard.org for some more SAT prep as well. Review what you remember from previous standardized tests. Do not try to cram for information prior to taking the test. Set aside a designated time to review and study for the test. So here are some resources that we are providing all of you with. Please, click on those links to go ahead and start looking at different ways to prepare for the SAT. There's a link on College Board, Prep Scholar as well. All of that will be for you to click on after the webinar. Please take advantage of that to prepare for your upcoming SAT test. Here are some more resources, UWA's SAT prep page, and then there are some COVID updates as well for all of you to look at as well. All right, so at this time, what we'll do is we'll just open the floor for any questions that you may have regarding the SAT and the webinar itself. It looks like we don't have any questions at this time. I want to thank all of you who have joined us during this webinar. Thank you for your time and thank you for joining us and learning a little bit more about the SAT and what it consists of. If you do have any questions after this webinar, or if you're watching this on a recording, please be sure to email admissions@uwa.edu for any questions that you may have regarding the SAT.